This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk's Sunday Stream of Consciousness right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. How is everybody today? I just jumped over from the Mac and Jack show this morning and actually went a little longer. I have a spot at 8:10. I usually am done, and I just got done now. I'm usually done about 8:25 or so. We went a little longer and spent some time with Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat, who hosts the show. Jim's a great guy, former great Dallas Cowboy lineman, and Robert Butler from Sportscope. So it was a lot of fun this last half hour. So it was fun to stick around there a little bit longer today. But now we're here with you guys. We welcome everybody who's live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. This show will be plausibly live on Roku at noon today. Don't forget, speaking of Roku, get those Roku sticks and TV, whatever you have to do and download that Northeast Streaming Sports app. We're starting to have more exclusive content there, including the Started Up show, the Northeast Streaming Sports Started Up show, which I co-host with Mac McGrath, who hasn't been with me recently for a variety of reasons, and hopefully Mac will be back with us soon. Mac was doing on his show today, so that's a good sign, and hopefully we'll have him soon. One quick personal note, I want to pass along my condolences to my brother-in-law, John Mize, who lost his sister after a battle with cancer last night, and our hearts go out to John, and we're here for you, buddy. So, stay strong. Send a lot of strength to my buddy John. So anyway, on a brighter note, we're going to have Jim Biringer on to catch us up on the wild world of the NHL offseason so far with free agency and trades, a little bit of coaching news. We'll talk some Major League Baseball, obviously, kind of take a look around the league, some information leading up to the All-Star break. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of the snubs. I do have some thoughts on Joey Gallo's situation with the Yankees. I want to talk a little bit about the draft and how it might be better off if they were able to trade draft picks. And we'll see what we have time for the NFL, the NBA, and we'll have Mark Mancini in about 10:30, and he'll be good stuff. And you're talking about the Mac and Jack show this morning. Good morning, Carlos, again. Thank you, Carlos. More for my brother-in-law, though. He's a good man and tough stuff. So anyway, Jim Biringer being with us in a bit. Real quick, I guess before I talk about too much, I want to we don't get a chance to talk about golf much. I'm a big golf fan, and I know it's not the biggest. I can't find my. I had a thing for the British. Oh, I bet you I left it at the top here. Guess maybe I didn't. I had a banner for the British Open, but I guess we're not going to take a look at it. Real quick, they're playing in England the final round here at St Andrews, I should say, in Scotland. I misspoke there. But Rory McIlroy let's just see, they're definitely not out yet. The starters will be out at about 9:50, I think, today. But Rory McIlroy, who's had a majors drought for quite a while, is tied for the lead with Vic Hovland. And also they're 4 strokes ahead of Cameron Smith and Cameron Young from the U.S., who's probably got the best shot of the U.S. players. Scotty Scheffler's there at 6'5" back. He could still make a run. We don't want Dustin Johnson to make a run because I want nobody from the live golf league network, whatever you want to call it, to have any chance to win here. We can't root harder against the Dustin Johnsons and the Brandon Deschambays and all you guys who have just sold your souls to the Saudis. So have fun with that. And you can watch a previous vlog I had about that. So very unhappy, but it'll be an exciting finish. And I am going to make sure that I get it on. Hold on, I'm going to do it right now, actually. I think it's on. Yeah, bear with me a second. It's great to be able to watch golf at 8 o'clock in the morning. Wow, I was up at 5:30. I'm watching golf, so it was great. Couple comments here. What do we got? We got a comment. Let's see before we have Jim Biringer on. Alan, good morning, Alan. Sorry your Rangers are in a funk. They're helping the Seattle Mariners continue to win 14 straight games, which we'll talk about when we get to the baseball section. After we get Jim to update us on everything to do with the NHL. I don't know, real quickly here, if there's any other, I will talk about Donovan Mitchell real quick too before Jim comes in. I did a vlog in case we don't get to it later, and we don't focus a lot. No, I think it's 14, Alan. Alan's a man, though. I don't know. Every time I think I'm right, Alan calls me out, and I'm wrong. So let's see. Am I right or wrong? I lost my standing page. There it is. You're right. Every time Alan's right. Damn it. 13 in a row. Great job. Rick, good morning to you this morning. He's surprised. Carlos. He's asking a question. I'm surprised. How will you look if Mac and Jack guys disrespecting soccer? Again, I disrespect soccer a little bit, but they need to do things differently. It wasn't meant as disrespect. There's things they need to do to make it more popular in this country. It's not some of the things Jack was talking about. I don't want to see them drastically change the game. But maybe they need to kind of look at the way, again, I'm sorry. If you want to be big in this country, maybe you can't do things like they do in Europe, and you need specific divisions or conferences and things that give people some identity. But anyway, back to Donovan Mitchell in case we don't get a chance to chat about it later. Maybe we'll talk to Jim Biringer quick about this one topic, and we'll go back to it later because I may bring it up with Mark Mancini later. Who'll join us from the West Coast and Mark. So hopefully he'll be on, Rick, and you can certainly repeat your comment from the Mac and Jack show, which was very funny. Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. Danny Ainge, as I said in this vlog, watch my vlog from Friday, and it'll go into much more detail. But Danny Ainge does this a lot. He'll say guys aren't available, then he throws them out there, and he wants 6 number 1 draft picks or 117 number 1 draft picks and 5-year best players, and then things a lot of times don't happen, or they do. But if I'm the Knicks, and Jim's here, so we'll probably cut this topic short, and I'll go back to it. Or I might ask his opinion off the top before we jump into hockey. And I disagreed with Robert, and I disagreed with some of the guys on the Mac and Jack show this morning. And if you watch my vlog, you'll see it all. If I'm the Knicks, I have to show that I can make this type of trade. If I'm Leon Rose, I have to show I can make this type of trade. And within reason, I'll give them 5 draft picks. I don't care. 3 of them are going to be protected anyway. So maybe they're not as valuable as you think they are. And if they want Toppin and they want Quickly, I like Quickly, but I'll give it to them. They're not getting Barrett, though. They're just not. But I need to make this trade. And I know there's some challenges as far as pairing Mitchell and Brunson. They both like a ball in their hand. You can work that stuff out. Earl Monroe played with Walt Frazier, for crying out loud. Defensively, there's some challenges. And cap-wise, there's some challenges. But this is the type of trade Leon Rose needs to pull off, because the Knicks haven't made a trade like this in at least 10 years. And they have never attracted a major free agent here because there's nobody to come and play with. And they haven't shown that they'll go out and make moves like this to make them a winner. Real quick before I bring Jim in here, soccer is so great I don't have to fight people anymore. MLS is doing better. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the MLS because there's just so much to talk about, and I don't want to really. In fact, I'd like to argue that hot dogs are the worst American sandwich ever created. It's not a sandwich, number one, Carlos. That's a debate we can have as well. Just like managers in baseball are not coaches. Anyway, enough of that. Let's bring Jim Biringer in for the last word on hockey and full press hockey.com. Welcome, Jim Biringer. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're excellent. We're talking about hot dogs not being sandwiches. So a lot of important stuff.
Which is true.
It is very true. Am I right?
It's very true. It's not a sandwich.
It's not a sandwich. Thank you.
It's not a sandwich.
I hate it when people do that.
It's not a sandwich. Sorry, but it's good. It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
To have you back.
After free agency frenzy, after the draft. A lot of stuff went on. And it's good to be here.
I do hope you had a good vacation. I know you were away last weekend, or I don't know if it was a vacation or just a mini getaway, but I hope you had a good time. And
no, it was good. Yeah, no, I got away, but I also was at the draft for one day, so it was good.
Oh, cool.
Excellent stuff. So it was great to see everybody out there, fans in there, and
Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning, Amanda. Thank you.
A mandatory good morning to Amanda. And Carlos has got me on. I don't know if he's got me on the sandwich or the fact that Major League Baseball managers are not called coaches. God, kills me.
Carlos gets you going on a Sunday morning.
Every morning. What are you talking about?
That's true.
Jim, so get us up to date. So I guess where to start with this off.
Where to start this off season.
There's so much going on. I mean, let's focus on. Well, I guess we'll break it into buckets.
Right.
Free agency and trades. Who's the big winners? Let's start with free agency. Who's the big winners and losers so far in free agency in the NHL?
Well, to me, I think one of the big teams you got to look at is the Ottawa Senators for what they've done so far. Pierre Dorian's done with that team pretty much, once of the unfortunate passing of Eugene Melnyk, the pocketbook is open and they're spending money and they're making moves to make this team better. You make your trade for Alex DeBrincat at the draft for the 7th overall pick. You bring him in. Then you're able to bring in and sign a guy like Claude Giroux, who's from Ontario, near that area. So that's a huge pickup for the Sens. You trade for Cam Talbot, which is a goalie, which the whole issue with Minnesota, after Minnesota re-signs Marc-Andre Fleury, Talbot's agent comes out and says Billy's got some things to think about. Bill Guerin, the general manager of Minnesota, is like, well, no, I don't. I don't really have stuff to do. And he ends up trading him later on to Ottawa. I love what Ottawa's doing. I think they need to pick up a defenseman to shore up their defense, but their top six and they re-signed Josh Norris, one of their young centers who they picked up in the Erik Karlsson trade. So that shows good scouting. This team is set now, and they have one of the best top six in the league. This team's going to be better, and Toronto Maple Leafs have to watch out because they did some head-scratching decisions over this offseason, most specifically getting rid of Jack Campbell, not re-signing him, and trading for Matt Murray from the Ottawa Senators, who, his best days right now are behind him until he proves people wrong because he won those 2 Stanley Cups in Pittsburgh in 16 and 17, but who was his backup goalie was Marc-Andre Fleury, a veteran who's been there before, a safety net. He hasn't had that, and since then his numbers have really tailed off. So to me, I think I think Ottawa's one of the big winners. If you look at Detroit, what they're doing, Stevie Yzerman, you bring in Andrew Kopp, you bring in a Ben Sherratt, you're signing guys that you need to sign. David Perron, a 2-year deal, a goal scorer. They're making little moves outside of that as well. So I really like what Detroit's doing in there. Pittsburgh to me, look, I'm a Penguins guy. I'd like to see, what Crosby, Malkin and those guys can do. But the term and some of the dollar figures, it feels like their window is really, really closing. And, you re-sign Malkin to a 4-year deal. You re-sign Letang to 6 years. Russ gets 6 years. Raquel, the 5x5 I didn't get. and then you sign Jan Ruda, so then they have to make trades. So they trade John Marino, one of their up-and-coming top 4 defensemen, to the Devils on Saturday for Ty Smith and a third-round draft pick. Now, Ty Smith is, his 2018 first-round draft pick. He's done well, but he had an off season. Maybe his AAV's, there. The thing is, when the Devils drafted Simone Nemec, you wondered if Ty Smith days were numbered in New Jersey. Now Pittsburgh has him. Let's see what they can do with him, but they still have to clear cap space. So they had to move Marino. They're still looking to move Mark Pedersen. They acquired Jeff Petrie from Montreal Saturday after the Marino trade for Mike Matheson, another guy Penguins fans like. So, Ron Hextall is keeping the window open, but only for a couple of years. And until this team gets past the first round, you can't tap him on the back and applaud for him because he still has some more cap gymnastics to do.
Right. What are your thoughts on Johnny Gaudreau not just leaving Calgary, which seemed to be imminent, but where he goes to Columbus, does he fit that squad as well as he would have fit some other places? And he took less money to sign there, I believe, right?
Yeah, to me, he just really wanted out of Calgary. That's the big thing. He wasn't coming back, that despite all the talk and saying, it was a tough decision. At least he did it the right way, not LeBron, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. He talked to the general manager. They tried to work some things out. They just couldn't do it. And he wasn't, the issue was he wanted to go to the Flyers. The Flyers, for whatever reason, Chuck Fletcher, and in any other sport, this would be a fireable offense. You don't trade James Van Riemsdyk and a first-round draft pick to Arizona, who would be willing to take on that contract, who probably would have just bought him out anyway, for Johnny Gaudreau. I just don't understand it. Head-scratching decisions. You hire John Tortorella, then you sign Nick Delorier to a 4-year deal. It just doesn't make sense on what's going on in Philadelphia. New Jersey offered him money. Tom Fitzgerald said, they had good conversations. Things were moving in the right direction. But they just never heard back. They just couldn't get anything worked out. And he ends up going to Columbus because, he reached out to Yarmo. He had talked to some guys that were on the team. He had talked to guys that used to play for the team. He has friends there. And you know what? He said a lot of people said Columbus is a nice area. You're going to like playing for the team. Plus, you have Patrick Laine's there. So, look, it's a good combination. It's a win-win for the Jackets. They showed that, people want to play in Columbus, so that you change the stigma there. The Isles were never in the mix because of Lou. Lou was never going to go over it. I hear all the insiders say, yeah, the Islanders were in on it. No, a true insider says that, I know Lou for a long time. He has a price point. He's not going over it. Despite everybody saying, oh, they're in on this guy and that guy, Lou has a certain player he wants. And if it's not out there, he's not getting it. And now Isles fans are seeing what I've been saying for years, that his best days are behind him, and the same mistakes that he did in New Jersey, are coming to fruition. McDonough, see, here's the thing. David Poyle said, well, he just fell into our lap. Well, no, he fell into your lap when the Tampa Bay Lightning had a clear cap space. Look, I would take Ryan McDonough on my team too. And they re-signed Philip Forsberg, but they really haven't done much after that. Because, again, they have a lot of money tied up in certain guys, and the salary cap's an issue. And then you see what Tampa did in an 8-minute span on free agency. They re-signed guys that'll come up next year in Sergachev, Chernak, and Cirelli for 8-year deals. Colorado's keeping as much of the band together as possible. Josh Manson re-signed, Arturi Lehkonen, Valerie Nichushkin, Cogliano, and Helm. They're still waiting on Kadri. He's another fish that's still out there. Let's see where he wants to go. We're here in Calgary, maybe staying in Colorado, maybe the Islanders. We'll see what happens there. I like what the Oilers did. They re-signed Kane. Evander Kane, there was no other place he was going except Edmonton. Despite him going to market, no other team was going to take on his baggage. Edmonton fits. He fits there with that team. Connor wants him there. Leon loves him there. And then they signed Jack Campbell, which I think it's a great move. and they keep Kulak, I think they have to get the better defensively in front of Campbell. I'm not sure if it solves their other problems, but Campbell's not going to let in the goal Mike Smith let in during the playoffs, and he's a better goaltender than a lot of people think. But as he said in his interview, he's like, he went to a team that believed in him, and that's the shot of Kyle Dubas, because like I said, they bring in Matt Murray, Toronto does. They have Ilya Samsonov as the backup because, Washington decided to get rid of all their goalies and then signed Darcy Kemper to a 5-year deal, and they're going to regret that within 2 years because Darcy Kemper was protected in Colorado. Yes, he played okay. He played good in Arizona, but Washington's defense is a lot older, and they're not going to protect him as much. So we're going to see what the real Darcy Kemper is.
What about the Rangers picking up Trocheck, the center? Well, how does that fit what they're trying to accomplish here in New York?
That's a younger player than Strome. They signed him to a 7-year deal. It's funny, the AAV for Andrew Kopp in Detroit and Vinny Trocheck are the same. I just don't think the Rangers wanted to go longer than 5 years, or maybe they only wanted to go 3-4 years with Kopp. So this keeps the Rangers. The Rangers have a nice top 6 here. They even may have their forward group is still looking strong. They have a good backup goalie in Yarrow Halak, probably the best in the business. I've always said I like Yaroslav Halak. They have Louis Domingue for their AHL as well, backup to the backup. But yeah, I like Trocheck. I like what he brings. He wins face-off, something the Rangers struggled with. And, he's going to bring a scoring element. Playing with Panarin is going to help his game too. So, and if you move Lafreniere up to the top 6, now you have something going there. I think they still have a little bit of money to re-sign Capo Caco, so we'll see what happens.
What about the rest of the New York area teams? Your thoughts on what they've done so far in this early stages of the offseason?
Well, the Islanders really haven't done anything,
right.
So they're pretty much going to roll it back, run it back. I like what Jersey's done. They acquired Vitek Vanacek at the draft, backup goalie for Mackenzie Blackwood. They traded Pavel Zacha to Boston for Eric Haula. Eric Haula's nice big guy. He can play center, can play the wing. Then they picked up Andre Palat, from Tampa, who, he was a cap casualty, which that's unfortunate because he fit their system well. But I think he's going to, fit the Devils system well too. They signed Brandon Smith. And like I said, they traded for John Marino. The Devil, Tom Fitzgerald made hockey moves to have controllable assets, make the team better. They're bigger on the back end. They average about 6'3" now. Their forward group is really good, very versatile. So he's reshaping this team in his image. Now it's the time for the Devils to take the next step. They cannot have another high draft pick. They have to be closer to the playoffs. And there's no excuse. There's no excuse now.
Okay, well that's something to look forward to for your new.
Well, the only issue is as I've talked with a bunch of analysts and listened is. Does with the way the defense is structured now, the way the players that they have, is Lindy Ruff the guy to put the defense together? Because unfortunately, the issues that were in Dallas when he was there are showing up here where the team is not very good defensively. Yes, it helps to have guys that are good in their own zone like a John Marino, but the system may not allow these players to be the best versions of themselves. So with Andrew Burnett coming in as an associate coach, you almost wonder if Lindy Ruff's time in New Jersey is coming to an end.
And what about our Stanley Cup finalists this year? Your thoughts on their offseason? It looks like Tampa Bay has kind of kept some of the core together, interestingly enough, to try to make another run. They've had to move on from some. But what are your thoughts on these two teams and their chances to maybe end up in the same place next year?
Well, I mean, like I said, Colorado's trying to run it back with the same squad because they pretty much kept all their trade deadline acquisitions this year. So again, everybody's waiting on Kadri to see where he goes. So we'll see. But I think Colorado's still in a good position to go back to Stanley Cup final. I like the addition of Alexander Georgiev between the pipes. They traded for him. Georgiev 3-year deal. He's going to be the starter there with Pavel Francouz as the backup. So I like what they've done there. Tampa, again, they're keeping their young players together, handing out 8-year deals. We'll see who becomes a cap casualty next year just as they try to keep this window open. They bring in like a Nemestikov, they bring in a Ian Cole on a 1-year deal, not much money. So, Tampa's trying to get back to another Stanley Cup final. It's definitely going to be tough because that division is much better. The East is a lot better. But, when you have Andrei Vasilevsky, Steven Stamkos, and Nikita Kucherov, on the back, and Victor Hedman, I guess nothing is impossible. I think it's just going to be harder. Right now, I could still see Tampa in the Eastern Conference final.
Wouldn't be a surprise, right?
No, it would not be a surprise.
Yeah, it's going to be the East is going to be tough. I think it's going to be very, very tough again this year. Couple of questions that came up during this. Or comments I'll bring up. Carlos is asking about: do we think Flip would have gotten a bigger deal outside of the Preds, and were they forced to make that deal for 8 years?
Well, here's the deal: the way the CBA is structured is whoever owns the rights, they took out these. The issue was going into 2013, the CBA, everybody's handing out 12, 13-year deals. The NHL wanted to get rid of it, so they maxed it out at 8 years. So whoever you play for, you could sign an 8-year deal past a certain window before free agency. Once free agency comes, you only can sign a 7-year deal. That way they avoided these backdiving contracts for like 12 years where guys wouldn't even play the last like 8 because of, or whatever it was. They were only getting like $1 million at the end of it. So they wanted to avoid that. If a team traded for Forsberg, they would have had the right up until 11/59/59 on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, to sign into an 8-year deal. After that, it would have been 7 years. He wanted to stay. Both parties wanted to stay. They were just trying to get the structure of it. They don't like to give out signing bonuses, and they don't like to give out no movement clauses. That's what Forsberg wanted. He got what he wanted, and that's why the Predators were forced to make. I don't think they were forced to make that deal. That's why they made the deal, because both parties really wanted to get the job done and keep the player there, because he is the heart and soul of that offense.
And Carlos also asked, this is a Malik he's talking about here. Spellcheck screwed him up. He mentions later, but he thought the Pens might go younger. And maybe Malik is getting too much. What do you thoughts about that?
I think 4 years for Malkin was way too much. I think 6 years for Letang was way too much. I think, it's cool. You're going to see 3 guys in Pittsburgh for 20 years, but this is the reason why Chicago's in the position they're in. And you're going to see Pittsburgh beat Chicago in a couple of years, where they just are going to just have to tear it down and be bad again for a while, because the reason Pittsburgh was bad for forever, Mario wasn't there. They started to lose. The franchise could have been sold, and then they get Sid. So, you have to know when your window is closing, and you have to know when you have to restart the rebuild. Boston has kind of done it where it's like, okay, we know, but we're going to try to keep these guys together, some of these guys together, but we know we have to move out guys. Pittsburgh is yet to realize that their window is really closing because they haven't got past the first round. Yes, you won a Stanley Cup in 2017. I get it, but you haven't been past the first round since 2018, and you've lost. They probably should have won this year. All kidding aside, they probably would have gotten to the second round, but they didn't. So those deals, the AAV, they want to keep low. The term on some of these guys a little long. For me, one thing you're going to watch with the Rangers is, 2 guys, Ryan Strome and Frankie Vetrano, went to Anaheim. I think the Vetrano loss is going to be bigger than people think, because, the way he just fit into that top 6, he was really, really good. And that was a really good pickup by Chris Drury. It's unfortunate they couldn't keep him.
A little bit of coaching news. I don't know who's signed. I think most of these deals were done before before you were gone. Took a week off, but Bruce Cassidy quickly signing in Vegas. I'm not sure if we had a chance to talk about that. He had a good run in Boston. Not a lot of playoff success, which will doom you quickly. But
one Stanley Cup final appearance in 2019. I think it's not his. I don't think it's Cassidy's fault that he got fired in Boston. I think it's Don Sweeney and Cam Neely's fault. Yeah. To be honest, those guys, they messed up the 2015 NHL draft when you have 3 first-round draft picks in a row and you haven't hit on any of them. They haven't addressed the team's size and depth on their middle to bottom 6 forwards, and that's been an issue for Boston. And you could clearly see when they lost in Game 7 to St. Louis, that was an issue. Bruce Cassidy had this team, and the power play was really good. Look, he made subtle changes, moving Eric Holla up to the second line. He switched to Brusque and Pasternak, and the Bruins offense got going, and that's the reason why they made the playoffs. He's going to be really good in Vegas, and he's going to get that power play going. I think I like Jim Montgomery's fit, but again, Don Sweeney still has to address the needs of depth forwards, and he still really didn't do it. So we're going to see where Boston is this year. Yeah, they want to. It's rumored that Bergeron and Krejci are coming back, but the division's better. I don't know if Boston makes the playoffs this year. I mean, especially they got to survive with guys like McAvoy and Marchand and guys like that out for most of the beginning of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see what Boston does.
What about the flip side of this? Because I think the hiring of Cassidy is a really good move for Vegas. Their offseason has been a little choppy, it seems, other than the hiring of the coach. What are your thoughts about them getting back to a championship contender level?
It's going to be tough because, goaltending, Leonard and Thompson, and we'll see what they do. But I like Cassidy. He's going to fix that power play, which has been an Achilles heel for this Vegas team. There was no reason why this Vegas team with Jack Eichel and all those guys could not get back to the playoffs this year. If they had a better power play, I think if they had a better power play the last couple of years, they might have been to a Stanley Cup final. Pacioretty's gone. He moved to Carolina for nothing. But they have to clear cap space. That's the problem. You bring in everybody and you have all these deals, but then you have to move them out. And I think they need to get away from all these shiny toys and realize that the guys that were there the first season when they were the misfits are the reason why they got as far as they did, because everybody bought in. So You got to move. They're probably going to still make a couple of other moves, but I like Cassidy as the hiring.
And a question outside the box of what we've been talking about, but Billy Pulver. Good morning, Billy, by the way. Our traveler is back 2 Sundays in a row. Welcome. He wants to know, and I'm not sure if this is accurate or not. You will, obviously. Why were there more goals scored in the NHL this season?
Oh, I mean, this has been like the hot question all year after the regular season was over. Why was scoring up? Was it the power play? Were the offense is better? What goalie equipment? Was it? It's combination. I think the skill is better, and they're finding ways to score goals, and they're finding different ways to score goals, and the power plays are better, and the goalies are still really good, but the skill is just right now guys are finding the training, the off season, the skill of the younger players are putting the puck in the back of the net, and we'll see if the trend continues and these guys continue to put up career years, because this was one of the highest rated seasons in a long time for goals, for points, and all that stuff.
There's Carlos' thoughts. Lacking from wingers and more power plays. I think we covered some of that. So
yeah.
What else, Jim? Anything we should be looking forward to as we continue this NHL off season, or anything you have that we should be looking for personally?
I mean, just check out, see where Nazem Kadri and John Klingberg go, to more of the big free agents out there, still on the big board.
Kadri seems to be the biggest name to domino yet to fall, right?
Right, exactly. Goudreau fell, so let's see where Kadri goes. We don't know where he's going. There's a bunch of places, maybe Flames, maybe, like I said, Colorado. We'll see if another team jumps in. Let's see what, if there's any other trades out there. Matthew Tkachuk's name's out there because of the Johnny Gaudreau stuff. Does he stay in Calgary? What does he do? If you go back to the draft, it was a fun time. You had the trade of Kirby Dach, Chicago just turning it all down, getting rid of young players. You would have thought that they want to keep guys to build around Patrick Kane that are young, like Kirby Dach and Alex DeBrincat, but they want to even get younger and just tear it all down. So they're just giving away guys. So if you can figure out a way to get Patrick Kane on your team, do it, because you'll probably take him for nothing.
Perfect. Well, guys, check out Jim on Jim's work on fullpresshockey.com. A lot of great stuff. Geez, I don't know. You got about 10 articles in the last couple of days.
I was busy. Yeah.
You've been a busy man. So check those articles out. You'll see a lot of great information on some of these trades individually, and certainly more to come in the coming weeks. And also check out his show on The Last Word on Hockey. I'm sorry, the show The Last Word on Hockey on the Mad Radio Network. You guys had a show that you promoted yesterday. Was that for yesterday? Did it drop?
It'll be today, 2:00.
Okay, great. We'll make sure we'll share that for you on TGI Sports Talk. And if I'm around to do it, I'll put it up live if I have a chance to do it at that point in time.
Sounds good. I appreciate that, Keith. Yeah, we always like the promotion of the show. Yeah, it's just been busy time around the league. A lot of good stuff coming, and you're gonna see just a little bit here and there trickle in because now the real off season is going on, because usually once the first day comes, it's just slowly coming in, and then there's a dead time. Yeah. There'll be a complete dead time when nothing happens. And yes, I am.
And yeah, the question on everybody's mind is Jim on his way for a bike ride.
Absolutely.
And hopefully Miss Amanda's going with you and you're not going alone, I hope. So it won't be a lonely bike ride.
I believe it's a solo ride today.
It's a solo ride today? Ah, well. Yeah. Her loss. Right. What can we say?
No.
Or a bad choice by you, one or the other. It can't be both.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jim. Thanks for coming in today. We'll catch up with you soon to keep us updated on everything NHL related.
All right. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. Fun season as always. Can't wait to do it again.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Have a great Sunday.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The great Jim Biringer from, as I said, Full Press Hockey and The Last Word on Hockey. Guys, I got to tell you, I cannot believe, I got to back up here before we go to baseball. I hope I can find it. Kenny somehow is agreeing about this hot dog situation. A hot dog is not a sandwich. Just because it has bread on it doesn't make it a sandwich, not in my mind. It's a bun. It's not a sandwich if it's in a bun. Hamburger's not a sandwich. God, just you're a Fulton County guy. And Rick's got him agreeing with Carlos. Alan's gasping. Anyway, great debate here. Listen, and I also have to say this, and we're going to start with some Major League Baseball here. Let me get some news up here, and we'll start. Listen, since Kenny brought this up, we're going to go around the league a little bit in just a few minutes. We're going to start with Juan Soto, turning down $444 million. Listen, this is his prerogative. He doesn't know where this ownership is going. They're going to have new ownership soon. They have no idea the direction of this club. The money was front loaded. Again, look I understand it's a lot of money. And for us to say that guy turned down $444 million, that's crazy, but I'm never going to do, Kenny, I apologize to call you out here a little bit, but I'm just never going to root for a guy to get hurt. These guys, look at the money that the teams are making. He's going to get more than that free agency. He'll get more. Now, if he waits 2.5 years when he can become a free agent, he's probably not going to get 15 years. But he's liable to get $40 million a year. Judge is going to get $44 million a year, $40 million a year, most likely in free agency, whether it's from the Yankees or somebody else. And now he's not going to stay. The Nationals are going to think about trading him. I just can't, I can't go out and root for guys to get hurt. And that's bad karma. That's bad karma. He's got a right to do what he wants with his career. And this is to me, this is a little like the Judge thing, but he doesn't have the body of work to me yet that Judge does. Close. He's much younger than Judge. I want to say he's at least 6 years younger than Judge, maybe more. But there's going to be major players, and Washington's going to come out of this smelling like a rose, and so is Soto. He's either going to get his money that he wants from the Nationals, which, again, I think it's more than just the money. I think he's concerned about where this team is going. This team's going to have new ownership. The ownership's getting out, and I just don't think it's, look at by all accounts, this is a good kid, a smart kid, a good teammate. He gets it. He turned down a big contract. That's his right. Doesn't make him a bad kid. That called me out on the pond. Oh God, I'm waiting the same fate as Kenny, I guess. What we got here? Egg salad, bread, leftovers, dressing salad. That's a sandwich. That's a sandwich. Some people play the system and win like Kirk Cousins doesn't win. Yeah, agreed. And again, that's their right. That's the way the system is set up. I can't fault Juan Soto here. I really can't. I can't fault the Nationals. The Nationals threw a pretty good contract at him, 15 years and $440 million. Now, again, that's not up there. It's not good. That contract, by the way, will be obsolete by the end of this year because there'll be a ton of guys. There's already guys making a lot more than that on a yearly basis. Now, there's something to be said to guarantee yourself $440 million. Somebody offers it to me tomorrow, I'm taking it, which isn't going to happen. But to me, you're worth whatever somebody thinks you're worth. And if you think you're worth more than that and you want to gamble, yes, he could get hurt. Will I root for him to get hurt? No. He's a great player. As a fan, I want to watch great players. I also want to see them on a good team. This is a guy with a pretty good resume. He's got a World Series ring. He got off to a bad start this year, but he's going to be an all-star. And God, he has just got a great swing. And I love watching the kid play. And I'd love to see the Yankees go find a way to get him. Don't be surprised if they get involved, but they're going to have to give up. Whoever makes this trade is going to have to give up, 3, 4 of their top prospects, not what they gave up for Joey Gallo. So you're going to have to talk Velope. You're going to have to talk Peraza. You're going to have to talk all the guys that are your top prospects, and you're going to also have to talk about players. Who did I see mentioned? God, I can't remember. Glaber was brought up in this scenario. And again, I'll be honest with you, I got to make that trade. If they want my top 2 prospects in Glaber, plus some other prospects, I make the trade. I got to sign them though. You got to sign the guy to get him. The Mets are going to be talked about. The Mets don't have the prospects. Their best prospect is a catcher, and Nationals' second best player right now is a catcher. So I don't see that happening. It's not a good fit for the Mets unless they want to trade Pete Alonso. If they want to talk about trading Pete Alonso for Juan Soto, and if you're a Met fan, Carlos, are you willing to make that trade? Trade handful of your best prospects and Pete Alonso for Juan Soto? I might think about it. The pond is very deep, Carlos. Be careful. I still don't believe that. And again, Carlos, as much as I love Juan Soto, I will reiterate my argument here. This is the problem with the Yankees' approach to their players. They have a great player. Now and you're right. Soto's got years of youth on Judge. But Judge is the face of the franchise. He's not the same type of player Soto is. Look, Soto's left-handed, and he would fit that part perfectly. And I wouldn't be upset to see him with the Yankees, but I don't say I want that at the expense of Aaron Judge. Yankees always love the shiny new thing over here on somebody else's team more than their own guy. And that's been the problem for a long, long time. I'm not calling you crazy. I'm just telling you that I would not take Juan Soto today over Aaron Judge. I'll take both because that's the kind of selfish guy I am. On the local side, Kenny came to a Mohawks game last night, and they started out sloppy until the grand slam. Great baseball the way we remember it. Awesome. Good to hear. I know they're doing very, very well up there, Rick. I know they have a big – maybe they're still on it. They were on a big winning streak last I saw. It doesn't matter. You know, they're still the two top prospects in the Yankee organization. They're two of the top prospects in baseball. You don't want to want these guys playing in the major leagues, so now you're going to tell me they're not doing well, so their values done. Obscene money for any athlete. Not sure what Boros is thinking, because you know why, Drew? Because he's worth more on the open market than signing this deal. It's only worth 20 only. Look at, I understand the numbers are obscene, but that's besides the point. Somebody's willing to pay you, you're worth that money. I'll say that until my last breath. Again, the money is backloaded a lot, which really doesn't matter because you're going to get your money. It's going to be a guaranteed contract. And he makes out better somewhere else, because if he gets traded, before he gets traded, he's going to sign a better contract than this. And if he finds a way to hit the open market in 2.5 years, he's probably going to get much, much more. It'll be hard to get 15 years when 2.5 more years have gone by, but the money's going to get more obscene. This contract would be obsolete at the end of this year. There's already, as I said, a bunch of players making more. Well, not a bunch. Aaron Judge is going to make a whole lot more than that per year. Now we're talking about, right? The full value of the contract is a different story. In fact, they said they wanted Max Scherzer money, which is $43 million. And Rizzo said, the GGM Rizzo said, we'll give you the same exact contract, but it's only 3 years. They're not doing that. So the overall contract matters as well. We're also going on Tuesday. Oh, good. Mohawks. I'll give DeGrom and Alonso plus more for Soto. Well, there you go. That's from a Mets fan. That's a lot. Well, DeGrom, I don't know listen, I doubt the Nationals are taking DeGrom based on the fact he's going to be a free agent. You can't trade a guy whose contract's expiring. That's not going to happen unless they can sign him beforehand. Don't forget, Soto's tied up 2.5 more years. So teams don't necessarily have to extend him now. I think they want to for what they're going to have to give up. But I don't think it's imperative. And I don't see the Nationals taking DeGrom back. And you're going to have to give up your top prospects to get him. Soto is left-handed. That explains a lot. And Kenny's left-handed, if you didn't figure that out. Found an article that ranked every team's chance for a trade for Soto. Here's the top 5. Mariners? Don't know. Giants? Yankees? Dodgers? Cardinals. You're going in descending order, I guess, here. There's a team missing here that is very, very, very much a player in this, and that's the San Diego Padres. I don't think the market in Seattle is going to warrant them, having a $500 million player on their team. I just don't think it is. Probably the same with the Giants in my mind. And the Giants' approach has not been to make that kind of outlay these last few years. The Yankees and Dodgers certainly are different stories. But again, you can't just think about who can afford him. It's what they can give up. I don't know if the Dodgers are that deep in their farm system, to be honest with you. And I don't think you get better bringing in Soto and giving up, 2 or 3 good ball players, young ball players. So Dodgers, I don't know. But you're forgetting about the Padres. Padres have been very aggressive in these types of situations in the last few years. They might have to give up Tatis, but I'm sure that if they wanted to pair him with Tatis over the next, 14 years, that's the contract they signed him to, I believe, is a 14-year contract. The Padres are the wild card here. And I think it's a place that suits Soto's personality and his game as well, San Diego. I'm not sure what the dumping of salary and access of players. I'm not sure what we're talking about. Oh, well, the contract he would have to sign? Look, this isn't the Nets trading Kevin Durant. Juan Soto is 2.5 years from free agency. He's going to command one of the biggest hauls in baseball history when it comes to a trade. Yeah, we got 63 wins, and we want to bring up the kids and put them in the major leagues and see how they do. We want to see them develop on the bench. There's not one guy I would sit right now for these kids. The Yankees don't need an influx of young talent right now. They don't need that type of energy boost. Trying to get your comment here, Rick. Might be more per year, but won't get the term length. Well, possibly. I mean, look, the money will probably come out to whatever in the long run. It's going to have to be X amount of dollars over X amount of years. And I don't know. These guys, again, they get wrapped up. It's important to the agents. It's important to the players for their ego. Even though I signed a $440 million contract, they feel it looks bad if they're the eighth highest paid player. Whatever. It is obscene money, but it is what it is. Fantasy question. Why is Keith suck so bad is probably the question, right? So the rest of us are only worth $7.50 an hour. You're paid whatever you're getting paid. I mean, if you feel you're worth more somewhere else, then you go there. That's the point. And you're worth more than $7.50 an hour, Kenny. Don't sell yourself short. Aaron Judge priced himself out of what? Aaron Judge is going to get his money. That's ridiculous. That's not a good. I mean, again, Aaron Judge feels he's worth more than $7.50 an hour. To Kenny's point, he'll get it with the Yankees, or he'll get it somewhere else. The Yankees could have got him at a bargain, if you can call it, with this kind of money. I understand that part of the conversation, but Aaron Judge will get his money. He can price himself out of anything. You may feel he priced himself out of New York, and that's on the New York Yankees, not on Aaron Judge. There you go. At least $8. Kenny, I told you. Dodgers AAA system is really good, and I believe they have a pretty decent farm system. I don't think it's as good as people think myself, but that's fine. You know, again, it doesn't matter what I think at the end of the day. It's going to matter what the Washington Nationals think of the Dodgers farm system. I really think the kids the Yankees have to offer are better. Now, the problem there is you're counting on these kids down the road. Not this year, Carlos, no. Next year, the year after. Kiner Falefa, who's played very, very well. Falefa, not Falefa. Falefa. Oh, my God. He's played well enough, a stopgap shortstop. He's not going to be there long term. He might be a utility player, doing the same kind of thing that Gonzalez does today. And now Gleyber's, restored himself, and maybe he'll get traded at some point, as you want, Carlos. But not today. You're not breaking up that team chemistry today. You think chemistry, I know, and leadership and all this stuff. Not to say Gleyber's a leader, but the team chemistry is good right now. That's their big deal. That's one of the big deals about people wanting to trade Joey Gallo. Not me, but a lot of people, and we'll get into him in a little bit. Getting Soto can help clear up the roster space to bring in youth. I don't disagree. I mean, look at the Nationals have a decision to make. And personally, I think that the excuses that Boros has brought up are kind of a sham. Anyway, I think he wants to get out of town because, again, there's a lot of uncertainty with this franchise. Nobody knows who's going to be the owner and, what direction are they going to take? Are they going to go all in to rebuild this, or are they just going to be happy to, to make a profit? Really? You tell me, Carlos. I can't even answer this. This team has 63 wins before the All-Star break. They're on a pace for 115 wins. Where would they have played? One of them could have played shortstop, and you're going to tell me they would have played as well as Kiner Falefa. We don't know that. And that's just Carlos, stick with the sandwiches. No, he's losing there too. A hot dog is not a sandwich. And Drew, you could speak up on this. I respect your opinion unless it disagrees with mine. A hot dog is not a sandwich. As of now, the Dodgers have the top-ranked system. Yankees are ranked 11th. Again, these rankings are what they are, and whatever. So the Dodgers have a good system. So then the Dodgers are the number one choice. But they're going to don't forget, they're going to want major league talent back as well. This isn't just going to be a bunch of draft picks. I'm sorry, just a bunch of minor leaguers. They're going to want players too. Sports keeps paying these salaries, and we'll be watching cornhole. Kenny gets cornhole in pretty much every week. Team chemistry is, no. Gallo has to go. We'll talk about him in a minute. Yankees floating around that they have prospects to keep them minors. So lame. Floating around that they have prospects and they keep them in a minor. So lame. Again, Carlos, as I tried to explain to you Friday, and I'm moving on. All teams have minor league evaluators who say when guys are ready to come up. They're not coming up ready to play. You just said yourself they're not playing well the last few weeks, so why would I bring them up? We are getting to that in just a second, Drew. Promise you. Oddly enough, the Orioles have the third best farm system, and I guess it's starting to show. I guess it is. It's a good point. We're going to jump. We're going to kind of change the topics here a little bit. We're going to jump around the league a little bit. I don't know if we're going to do the power ratings now, but we'll look at the standings and who's hot and who's not. And I guess we'll start in American League East, where the Orioles, by the way, ended their why do I keep losing my stand? There it is. All five teams in the American League East are over 500. I think this is one of the topics Mark Mancini wants to talk about later. The best division in baseball. And for me, it's easy. It's the Orioles. The Orioles, there was an article in the Athletic the other day about teams that are as bad, been as bad the last, say, 3 years as the Orioles, and then won 14 games in a row. I say they won 14. I don't remember what it was. We'll say 14. Maybe it was, what was it? Help me out, Alan. You're my guy. Tremendous streak. And we talked about this, and I've berated the Orioles for years, and their leadership and their ownership. But maybe this team was doing something right all along. They're one of the worst teams ever to go on this type of streak, both from the last season and from where they started the streak. But they're now over 500. They're on the cusp. They're in the wild card race, just behind the Red Sox, who are just behind the Blue Jays, I believe. So, Baltimore's done very, very well. Brandon Hyde is a guy that was on everybody's list, including mine, as majors that would have been in trouble early this season. And so is Scott Surveys. We'll get to Seattle in a little bit, as Drew brought up. He was a guy who was in trouble here just a few weeks ago. And the Mariners absolutely caught fire, and it continued to be on fire thanks to Allen's Texas Rangers. Let's see what we got here. Well, we're on the East. Talked about that. AL East, everyone above 500 agreed. Yankees have played some up and down baseball recently, we know. They're 5-5 in the last 10. Lost some bad games to the Reds this week. Some bad play from Matt Carpenter in the outfield the other day. I don't want to see. Listen, Matt Carpenter's been a great addition to this team. Matt Carpenter needs to play. Joey Gallo needs to sit. Matt Carpenter needs to play. 2 home runs last night. 2 more home runs for Judge, who's on a pace to set a new major league record for home runs because Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Barry Bonds don't count, in my mind. But the Yankees need to keep Matt Carpenter in the lineup and Joey Gallo on the bench. Matt Carpenter just can't play the outfield. He cost them that game the other night against the Reds with 2 horrendous plays, one holding onto the ball, then looking to the wrong base before he finally threw home. And then in extra innings, he took a horrendous route on a line drive. But Matt Carpenter's been a good addition to this team. Joey Gallo, 4 for his last 50, right, Alan? You pointed that out to me. He's got 3 times the number of at-bats as Matt Carpenter, Joey Gallo. Matt Carpenter has 5 less hits, 3 more home runs, and 10 more RBIs than Joey Gallo. Don't tell me what Gallo brings on defense. I don't care. I don't want horrible defense out there. I'll find somebody else to play defense, or I'll play Matt Carpenter and get him out of there in the late innings. Can't be on this team. Tampa Bay fired their manager this week. I said for weeks on this show, Montoya was in trouble because you cannot have the type of expectations that this team has had and expect to somebody's going to take the fall. Too many of their players have underperformed, and factions of the clubhouse were starting to think they needed a different voice. Even the guys who were underperforming didn't think Montoya was the guy to get them out of their doldrums because he's not tough enough. A little ironic, I understand. But also the voices of the people that were performing, he wasn't holding other guys accountable. That'll bite you in the butt. So they bring in John Schneider, who they say has a firmer hand. He was the bench coach. We'll see what happens. You can't fire 25 guys. The manager takes a fall in these cases almost every time. It doesn't work. No, we talked about this a lot. I've done vlogs on it. Only twice, I believe, that I can remember in Major League history has a manager been replaced at midseason and the new manager won a World Series. Bob Lemon with the Yankees in '78 and Jack McKeon in 2003 with the Marlins. And only 6% of the teams, I think, make the playoffs after a managerial change. So it isn't always, but it's worked in Philadelphia. They're playing much better ball. Whether they make the playoffs is still to be seen. I don't know what this is. 86 Mets had Gooden, Strawberry, and even Juan Soto played at a young age. I'm not really sure. Again, if you're still talking about the Yankees kids, they've got 63 wins. Do I waste they're not there ready? I'm not talking about these kids anymore. Well, that's not true. First of all, they don't have to pay him right away. They start earning points and time served to a point that they can go to arbitration. That's a very real thing. But that's not the reason these kids are down. The kids are down because they have better options in the majors right now. First off, it's just baloney rolled up. I don't think I've ever talked about. I get a lot of comments on my buy-in here. Where am I? Did I lose? Oh no, I went backwards. We've talked about hot dogs a lot today. Drew, Orioles are doing it with young pitching, and this doesn't include their 2 best prospects. Interesting that pitching got better with Rashman. Look at this team battles every night. There's no way they've got talent to match up with the Yankee, anybody in this division. Maybe the Rays, I don't know. But they've done a great job. They have a great approach. They've done a lot of the things that I like to see. They've done well. They play baseball the way baseball should be played a lot of times. I like the way they play. Does not mean I'm an Orioles fan, by the way. The streak got to 10. Here's what's impressive to me, too. The streak got to 10. They got themselves to 2 games over 500. They lost. And for a team like the Orioles, who don't have a great track record, the last many years, 4 years at least, it's easy for that now to become a deflation, and you start to trend the other way. They came back with a nice win over the Rays yesterday, so that's impressive. If Carpenter wanted to bet, you know what? And when they signed him, and I'll be very honest about this, I did not say, "Oh my God, great! They signed Matt Carpenter." He's ready to bounce back. I thought he was done. The Rangers thought he was done, right, Alan? He was sitting in the minor leagues there. The only reason he was playing in the minor leagues in Texas was because it was close to his home. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing at all. And he's done very well. I just don't want to see him in right field again. 2 of those 3 games the Mariners won against Texas were one-run games. Right, we talked about the fact that they're 5-20, and, so what? That's the mark of not a good baseball team. Good baseball teams win one-run games. I'm not going to say, Texas, good job. You only lost by 1 run. You lost the game. You got to win those games. Gallo and Hicks are the Yankees' secret sauce. Yes, on their way out of town. I'll bet you a Philly cheesesteak that Joey Gallo is not on his team come the trade deadline. I don't care if they got to cut him. I go get a Victor Robles from Washington. I go get, somebody who can just catch the ball, put the ball in play a little bit. 4 for 50? I'm 62 years old, and every joint in my body hurts. And I could get 2 hits, maybe. If somebody ran for me, I could get 2 hits. I guarantee you, I could get 2 hits, even if it was some fast kid legging out an infield hit for me. Good morning to Northeast Streaming Sports, if that's Mac or Linda, whoever it is. Good morning. Great to have you guys with us this morning. Yes, once your majors 10 days, you have to get minimum salary. Yes, so what? That's not about Yankees. You think the Yankees care about paying some kid the minimum salary if he can contribute? They do not. And it's not about that part, Carlos. It's about service time and how they build time towards arbitration. So if kids are kept in the majors, it's not about paying them the minimum salary. It's about them paying them down the road and the clock starting on that. That's why teams keep people in the major or in the minor leagues. When they manipulate the time served, that's what they do. Definition of a sandwich: it's an item of food. There's no bread. It's on a bun. It's not on bread. AL Central, thank you. Let's move on. Here's the producer of the show now. Kidding. Indians, look it. No, I agree. The Indians are no good. The Twins are very up and down. And this whole division's up and down. The Twins have been up and down. The Indians, the team formerly known as the Indians, I tried to play it straight on the Started Up show and call them the Guardians, but this is the Cleveland Indians for all intents and purposes. They have won 3 in a row, but they're very up and down. The White Sox, they had an important series, I thought, this weekend before the All-Star break against the Twins. And don't be surprised, guys. I wouldn't be shocked if during the All-Star break, shortly after the All-Star break, Tony La Russa could be the next guy to walk the plank here for teams with great expectations not performing up to standards. So we're done with the Orioles for now. Orioles are young and fun like the Blue Jays last year. No, that's not a bad comment. The Indians have Jimenez, former Met player, keeping them in games late. I don't know. I feel like both the kids that they got or they traded for Lindor have done okay. I know Jimenez has done better. I'm not sure what the other kid has done. Philly's cheesesteaks are big on this show, Mac. In fact, there's many owed to some of our viewers by one Mark Mancini. Texas couldn't find a spot for him. If they had known Garver could at least have a – well, again, you don't know these things, right, Alan? You can't really say if I knew. Hindsight's always 20/20. Carpenter's not that good in the field anywhere these days, and he's going to be a liability in the field no matter what, which is the problem with him and the Yankees. As long as you're not betting with Johnny, as I said, Rick. See, it's a hot dog bun. Nobody says it's a hot dog piece of bread. Guardians. Thank you, Alan. LaRusso or Chris Woodward. I don't know if Woodward will get fired. Again, the expectations weren't that high. And as we talk about, firing guys in midseason doesn't have that great an effect. If you're a contender, underperforming, listen, I think Montoya is a really good manager, and I think he's a good baseball man. But I saw this coming. This is what happens. They want a different voice. They get these guys a spark. Same thing happened in Philadelphia, and it worked. Now, again, if they make the playoffs, that's a different scenario. So in your mind, Philly cheesesteaks are not sandwiches because they're not on bread. They are on bread. Well, they're on a bun. I'm just talking about hot dogs, damn it. Our producer wants us to move on. AL West. The Mariners, as Drew brought up before, 13 in a row. I keep wanting to give them 14. So I'd bet on them today because I've already got them with 14 wins. I don't think they're catching the Astros. The Astros are really good, guys. They're only 4 games behind the Yankees for the best record in the American League, best record in baseball. As great as the Yankees have played, they're 4 games behind them. So the Mariners probably are not going to catch the Astros. Weirder things have happened, though. Yankees in 78, for instance. But they're probably going to make the playoffs now. And again, this is the flip side sometimes of we talked about firing managers. Scott Servais was highly rumored to be in trouble here just a month ago, not even a month ago. And they got it together. They stayed the course, stayed patient, and it paid off. Doesn't always do that. So some teams stick with the status quo and it pays off, and other teams make a move, and now and again it'll pay off. But this was a good move for the Mariners. I thought Servais might be fired by the All-Star break. This was before they went on this streak, obviously. And this is a good enough team to continue this. Now the Orioles, you can't take away the fact that they've had the worst record in baseball for the last 3 seasons. They had one of the worst records in baseball when they started this streak. So whether they can continue it is still debatable. The Mariners, I see no reason to think they couldn't. This team won 90-plus games last year. And as of right now, they're in the playoffs. What's Drew got here? Sorry. Mariners now a wild card. Astros have the 3rd best run differential. Run differentials are great, but again, when you think about it, let's take the Rangers for example. If you're 5-20 in 1-run games, you could have you could still have a great run differential potentially, and it would mean nothing. It happens from time to time. It certainly happens to me in when I play the electronic strat games. I have great run differential, and my teams will be 500. Because you can't win 1-run games. So I don't know if it's that important a stat, but it is. It does tell you about the strength of your team. But you need to win those run games as well. 1-run games as well. You're killing me here, Kenny, with your sandwich conversation. Rangers have been better than last year as a whole. As I said to you before, the Rangers are a work in progress. And I do think they might have jumped the gun spending the money on Seager and Semien this year, because they're a year or 2 away. It's a good team, though, a good young team that is probably heading in the right direction. Whether Chris Woodward is the guy to lead them going forward is going to be for them to decide, and it's still up in the air. And Glad Otto, one of those guys that we keep talking about, was traded for Joey Gallo, gets the start today. They could catch him any day. All right, I'm moving, Drew. I do want to get through this, though, so bear with me. I lost my mouse. Hold on, there we go. Got to scroll. The Mets. Listen, the Mets did a great job, to Drew's point. I thought the Brave series, of all the series we've had the last few weeks, I will say the Yankee series with the Red Sox was kind of important for a team with a double-digit lead. They needed to play some better baseball, and they are. But the Mets series against the Braves, I think, was probably the most important series we've had to date this season. Mets needed to show what they really, the mettle that they have, and they won the series. It's a great job. Braves continue to play good baseball, though. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Mets are 7-3 in their last 10. The Phillies continue to fall back in the division, but are hanging around the wild card. And the Marlins have sputtered recently, but they're still in that wild card race. I still think the Marlins have some pieces that they can put together here in the second half to maybe make a wild card push. We'll see. I don't know if it'll be enough to keep up with the Phillies and the Braves or the Mets or the Cardinals or the Brewers, depending on who's there, or the Padres or even the Giants. Don't know if it'll be enough. The Mets, by the way, speaking of trade acquisitions, let's not forget, they get Scherzer back, who didn't miss a beat. They're going to get DeGrom back here before the end of the month, most likely. He's been done very well in his rehab starts. I know the Mets were a little concerned that he kind of opened up as much as he did in that first start down at Port St. Lucie, but so far, no problems with his arm. He pitched in AAA last time out, and look at who's going to be a better, unless Soto gets traded, who's going to be a better midseason acquisition than Jacob DeGrom? Thompson's magic is dissipated, but still, overall, this was a good move for the Phillies. I mean, they're 5 games over 500. They were under 500 when he took the reins. So this has been a positive move for the Phillies. Whether it's enough to push them into the wild card, to a wild card winner is still, again, months from deciding. I think these wild card races are going to be pretty wild. Not to make a pun, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the wild cards to begin with, but I'm not a big fan of the expansion, but an addition of a wild card team. But the wild card races are going to be very heated. I mean, there's 9 teams. I think the other day when I looked, I still have it right here in front of me. I mean, I think there's 5 teams in the American League within. Hold on. Still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams within 3.5 games. And you can add the 8 Rangers, and you got 8 within 6.5. In the National League, gosh, I go down to the Marlins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With it, that's 6 rather. Can't count. It's my Perth education again. Within 5 games. If you think the Rockies are in, which I don't, they're 6.5 games back. You got 7 teams. It's going to be quite a race for those. Will you stop with that, Kenny? Where am I? They need 2 more hitters and a pitcher. I think who are we talking about? I don't know who we're talking about. Mets? I guess the Mets. The Mets are going for a hitter. Sandy Ellison said the other day, I think you can make book, in my mind, Nelson Cruz will be on the Mets before the trade deadline. They don't want to trade their top prospects to get what they would need to get, say, a Josh Bell, who theoretically would be a step above Nelson Cruz. But Nelson Cruz is a professional bat. He's played much better recently, and I think he'd be a good addition for that Mets lineup. Seager has 7 home runs in his last 10 games. I'm done with Texas. Listen, Seager got named to the All-Star game. He's going to be in the home run derby if anybody cares. What I'm saying, though, is it's not about the worth of those players. It's just I don't think the Rangers were in position they weren't ready for those types of contracts, I don't think. But again, if those guys are still playing well when the Rangers are good to contend in 2 years, well, then it's fine. I talked about this at the Open, Kenny. Maybe we'll talk about it at the close if you stick around. I'll check the leaderboard in the British Open, but I will be rooting very hard against any of the live players in this PGA. Or it's hard to root for the PGA guys, but no, not the guys. The PGA against live. PGA is not perfect, but these guys who went to live are just taking blood money, and I can't root for a single one of them, including Phil Mickelson, who's my favorite player of all time. Mets have 5 games. They probably still have more than that, I would think. No, I'd have to look at the schedule, but it seems odd that we'd be in July and they'd only have 5 games left against a division opponent. That would mean they played 13 games against the Braves. I don't think they have. Oh, there you go, Rangers. Drew is our baseball girl. It's nice taking down number 1 and number 2 and the girl in fantasy. Unlike my fantasy football, no, and talk shit. No, it gets kind of quiet. Carlos, I agree. A consistent hitter at least. Yes, the Mets need to be careful. I'm not saying they're just going to add a bat. I said that and then I stopped. They definitely need to add. I think bullpen is more important than starting pitcher for them because they've gotten some pretty good starts. Carrasco got his 10th win the other day. Great job by him. I'll put this up before I go to your comment, Drew. If the Mets want to make moves, it should be for 5 players like Braves. I don't know what the number actually has to do with it. Let's move to the Central. So I got to get out of the wild card standings here, guys. My Brewers, my pick to win the National League championship and win the World Series. The Milwaukee Brewers have not played great baseball by any stretch. To use Drew's run differential as a guide, they're only a plus 29. They've only 3-7 in their last 10. Cardinals have cut the lead again to 1. They've been kind of creeping up and then falling back, but nobody else in this division is even close to contending, and I don't have much else to say about it. 2 500 teams, a lot of mediocrity. Well, again, 8 games over 500 is not, 500. But I do get your point. This is not a great division. The Brewers are not nearly as good as I thought they would be. The pitching's good. They're not scoring enough runs, and this team needs to go out and get a bat. Definitely at the trade deadline. If the Mets want to make a move, it should be for. You said it again. Did I go backwards? I must have. Okay, I have a question. If it's okay for baseball players to get their money but not go, I didn't say that, Kenny. First of all, it's where you're getting your money from. I don't have a problem with the players getting money. I have a problem with the players getting blood money and helping terrorist states like the Saudis sports wash their reputations. That's it. So anyway. Kenny hasn't been to the Garden yet. Let's go to the West. The Dodgers keep rolling up to 60 wins. They're 3 games behind the Yankees. As well as the Yankees have played, there's 2 other teams that are playing some great baseball in the National League. The Dodgers just continue to win. They're 9-1 again in their last 10. And the Padres, they've been playing 500 baseball at best for a while. Have fallen 9.5 games back. The Giants 13.5 back. I think the magic is gone from Gabe Kapler. Giants will probably stick around that wild card race, I'm sure, but I just don't. Look at the Dodgers. The Padres will make the playoffs as well. And if they get Tatis back and that pitching staff, by the way, it isn't the Tatis missing that has really hurt this team. It's been the fact that their pitching has not been what it should be. outside of Musgrove. What's Drew say? Dodgers on the All-Star break with a nice 9-1 run and another chance today to make it better. The Padres' dive coincides with the Rangers' implosion as closer. I'm sorry, with Rogers' implosion as closer, and I know very well about that, by the way. Thank you very much for throwing that in there. True. But still hang on to the wild card. Listen, the Padres will be all right. And don't be surprised. And again, Juan Soto doesn't have to get traded during the season. This isn't a rental. This is a kid who's 2.5 years away from free agency. Watch out. The team that gets if he goes to the National League West, if the Padres get him, they put themselves in a chance to make a run at the Dodgers or in the playoffs because they'll probably make a wild card. But let me answer Drew's last question here before I talk about one other thing. The Giants still contending for a wild card, relying on their pitching again. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the way they're going about this. It worked last year, but to be consistently good the way the Giants are trying to do it, I don't think is going to work. And Peterson's had a nice year, but he's liable to come back next year and hit, have Joey Gallo-like numbers. Hunter Pence last night in the celebrity softball game hit a home run. Maybe they should put him in the outfield. Just saying. All-Star game coming up. We're not going to maybe we'll get into the snubs a little bit with Mark Mancini. We can have your guys' opinions as well. The draft's coming up. I read a good article about the drafts, and the Major League Baseball's it's on the 17th to the 19th. They tried to get it to be, similar to the NFL and the NBA and NHL, but you just don't know who these kids are, right? I mean, yeah, college. A couple of things have really hurt the MLB draft. College baseball is much more popular, and kids may stay in school because of NIL money and such. And we know who some of those kids are, but when you get the high schools involved, nobody knows who some of these kids are unless they're regional and you got a rooting interest there. So it's always going to be a much harder sell. Now, I think what would be interesting is if they were to allow these draft picks to get traded for players. I saw an example earlier today as I was scanning through some stuff, and the example was, what if the Mets traded, I think they had the 11th and 12th pick or something like that. Oh, God, what was the example? I'm going to use it wrong. Anyway, there's restrictions on moving these draft picks. And I think if they were able to move the draft picks and teams were able to maybe, stock up on, a bunch of first round picks to trade a Josh Hader, let's say, for the Brewers, or, I don't know, throw whatever name you want, Soto. It might become more interesting when you see these guys try to go through this draft. I don't know what would make it more interesting. I really don't. Just trying to fill some time, I guess. What other big news is going on in the baseball before I move on? Let's see. We talked about Soto. Justin Verlander with his 12th win yesterday. He moves into second all-time in Ks. He's never going to catch Nolan Ryan, who's got about 25,000. No, he doesn't. But still, he's never catching Nolan Ryan. But he's a great story. He's come back a couple of different times where it looked like his career might be over due to arm injuries and other factors. He's done very well. So congratulations to him. I believe that's the Major League leading 12th win, by the way. Trout's unsure if he'll play in the All-Star game. I said all week, as a couple of replacements had trickled in, that watch over the weekend, there'll be 5 or 6 more. I think yesterday there was 4 additions to the All-Star team. So some of the snubs go away in that regard. The AL wins the futures game yesterday, if you have interest in that type of thing. Luis Severino for the Yankees, bad news. He goes on the IL with lat strain, and Yankees have been very fortunate health-wise this year. And we don't want to see these guys start to break down now as we hit the dog days of summer. We got a couple of comments here. Let me get to them before we have Mark Mancini come in. Orioles have the first pick. Rangers have the third pick. Again, it'll be interesting. Not sure what Rick's laughing at. But Josh Hader is Hader with a D, Ketty. Hader. He does hate everybody named Josh, yes. Most pitchers need a second year to get up to speed after Tommy John surgery, and Verlander is extremely exceptional. I agree, Drew. And if I'm not mistaken, and again, I don't think it was the same surgery, but he's had arm trouble in the past and come back from that, where it looked like his career may be waning back when he was with Detroit. And going to the Astros just rejuvenated his career nicely. So you have to be happy with that. On the NCAA front, and we'll get into a lot of it more of this stuff on Wednesday night. Obviously, they signed the 25th of 300th rated player for what year? I mean, we're already ranking the 2024 recruiting class, for crying out loud. We'll have lots of news to talk about on college football on Wednesday night. We missed last week due to some work commitments, and we'll be back live Wednesday night, and we'll catch up on everything that we missed. SEC is just a minor league for the NFL. We'll talk about some of that stuff, and don't get Carlos going here anyway. I guess while we wait, how about the NFL? I thought there was a couple of notes I wanted to bring up in the NFL here. I talked a little about in the NBA. I talked earlier about Donovan Mitchell, and I think I'll get into that topic maybe with Mark Mancini if we have time. Texas settles a bunch of claims with Deshaun Watson. There's some rumors speaking to Deshaun Watson that he might only get 4 to 6 games. If that's the case, and the NFL is totally clueless and totally without any cojones, I'm sorry. This guy needs to be suspended for at least a season, if not for good. I seem to be the only guy on this wagon. I don't know. Robert Butler today thinks that the Browns made a great trade to get Watson. Maybe I misread what Robert was saying, and I respect Robert's opinion. Believe me, especially when it comes to the NFL, probably more than anybody's. But I do not think Cleveland made a great move here, and I do not think Deshaun Watson is the type of guy I want leading my football team. Jason McCourty retires from Miami. I believe he's going to, let's see if it's in this article. I believe he's getting a TV job. I don't see it in this article, but I believe I read Jason McCourty was going to get an NFL job on one of the networks. And RJ3, by the way, will be replacing Randy Moss on Monday night pregame show. The Chiefs, Orlando Brown, left tackle, very important position. He'll be playing under the franchise tag as they've been unable to come to terms on a deal. He turned down a 6-year, $139 million deal that included a $30 million signing bonus. I think. Well, look, they're not going to lose him this year, and look, I think in the NFL, one of the teams that's being taken for granted. Every conversation I have, every show I go on, or any show I watch, the Chiefs' demise has been greatly exaggerated in my mind. Had this conversation the other morning with Jamie Peggs, a Philly sports guy, and he thinks the AFC West is maybe the most overrated division in football. I'm not so sure about that. I know we got some comments here. We'll see what we got. I got one. NFL is quiet because NFL's or Cleveland's pulling off the worst offseason ever. Yeah, I agree. Desperate teams have to do desperate things, as Robert said this morning on the Mac and Jack show. And I just don't get it. Maybe we're not getting Mark Mancini this morning. 10:35. So maybe we lost Mark, which is fine. We'll move on to some other things. We go back to baseball. We'll turn the topics over to you guys if I run out of stuff to talk about here. Four-time All-Pro offensive tackle Schwartz retires from the NFL. Well, I got a Richie Incognito story there. Mitchell Schwartz retires from the NFL. He retired from the he played his final 5 seasons with the Chiefs, so he goes out with some Super Bowls and Super Bowl rings and things like that. Richie Incognito, who I did not even know was back. He retires again. He played with the Raiders. I didn't even know he was still in the league. He's 39 years old. And if you remember, he goes back to some bullying charges quite a few years back now, that got him in some hot water. Daniel Snyder won't testify under subpoena, so that means he will not be if he goes there and tells a lie, I don't believe he's going to be held to any perjury standards, which, what is the point? So I don't know what the deal is here with Daniel Snyder. He doesn't want to go there and testify in person. He says he'll do it on video, but he won't testify under subpoena because he doesn't want to be held to any perjury levels. And, you know what, Daniel Snyder, about time for you to go away. Oh, what do we got? Alan, Chiefs are still the best team in that division. I agree. Chargers are going to be really good. Denver will be better with Russell Wilson. Raiders, who the hell knows what the Raiders are going to do from year to year? They could be the best team in the division. They could be the worst. But I agree that the Chiefs' demise has been greatly greatly exaggerated. At least, I'm sorry, Mark is here, and I know Philly steak sandwiches have come up a lot recently. And Drew, what do you got here, Drew? See Genesis Cabrera's fit. Oh, I did see this the other day. Spikes the ball on the mound rather than handing it over, and it bounces back to the grass and grazes his jaw. Good. In this case, I wish he did knock himself out. Don't show disrespect on the mound. Be a man. Hand the ball to the manager or the pitching coach, whoever took you out. Oh, God. These guys, especially when you haven't earned that type of right. So I don't disagree. But let's bring in Mark Mancini, who's running a little late this morning, so we're not going to have as much time with you as normal, Mark. But that's okay. How are you today?
Well, I was out there signing autographs. I kind of felt like Juan Soto. And then I said to myself, well, I'm not an idiot. I take the 15 years, $440 million. This is a guy you could bet on yourself. But when they raise you from $350 million to $440, it's not going any higher than that, brother. Fire your agent.
Yeah, but as I was talking, we've had this conversation we had for quite a while earlier. But I think all the reasons that Boros has said we're not signing because there's the money's backloaded. Who cares? You're still getting your 440. I think it's all about the organization and the uncertainty about what's going to happen there. They're going to have new ownership. Nobody knows what direction they're going to take. And Soto's going to get his money. It doesn't matter where he goes. He'll get his money. And he'll probably get more than that in free agency in 2.5 years.
Well, I don't know who's paying it. The Yankees aren't going to be able to afford it if they give Stanton a boatload. He's going to get, big money. But when you had a $350 million thing on the table, and everybody would hit the 400 mark, I think Trout did, and they up you to 440. This thing, I mean, you got to be able to take it. You would have been the highest. Now he's going to turn into one of those guys, and I hate like hell to say it. Hopefully he doesn't get injured. But it reminds me of that guy in basketball that got injured and turned all the money down, bounced around from Sacramento to New Orleans, went to Golden State.
Yeah, you are betting. You're taking a risk, but my guess is he's got some insurance on his career as well. It'd be stupid for him to turn down that kind of money if they don't have some insurance. And guys in his situation have got Lloyd's of London on their speed dial. So my audience is making it rough on you lately, Mark. Everybody now has picked up this face for radio thing here, and I feel bad for you because if anybody's got a face for radio, it's me. So. So don't take
I come out, I got the slick look, the Pat Riley look. I'm getting ready for the All-Star game. One of my buddies scored me a ticket, so I'll be there Tuesday. Another thing off the bucket list. I just need 2 more.
So Billy North,
a World Series and catch a foul ball. I might have to go to that dump in Oakland.
Yeah, so not to watch the World Series, you're not going to.
No, to catch a foul ball. I think there's 10 people in the stands.
Well, that would improve your chances for sure. Talking about the All-Star game, and I'm glad you're going. I know you said Billy North got you the tickets. Good. Does that get you in for the home run derby and everything, or is that just?
No, I didn't want to push my luck. And my wife was asking me, "Hey, do we have an extra ticket?" I said, "Hey, listen, at this stage of the game, if they're buying you lunch, you don't ask for dinner."
So I know you're going, so don't answer this based on the fact that you're getting to go and you don't want to seem ungrateful and bash the game. The game doesn't hold the luster for me that it used to because there's so much, and to me I think it's simply because there's a proliferation of games and I get to see everybody play between ESPN and Fox and now Amazon and whatever else. Plus you see the highlights everywhere. When I was a kid, I didn't have those highlights, right? I didn't have those games. I could only see Henry Aaron playing the All-Star game or World Series, which he didn't play. So the luster was there. Today it seems a little bit lost because we're seeing everybody play and the interleague play. I think hurts that as well.
Well, this will be the third one I've been to. I've been to a NBA All-Star game. And then the heyday, you had the Dr. J's and the Magics and all those guys playing. They played the game like at noon. I remember at the old Fabulous Forum. And then I've been to an NHL All-Star game, and I've sat down on the glass for like $60 when it was the Campbell Conference and the Wales Conference. And that was a great one, too. But you're right. Over the years, it's transpired into a money-making thing. You got the futures thing. You got this home run derby. And the home run derby, to me, is a joke. I mean, you're paying $100-something to see 8 guys compete. We all know. I got my money on Schwarber to take out Alonso on this thing. But, I mean, it's when I look at the All-Star game, it's something. Look at I've been to a Super Bowl, got in there for $20 in the 80s. Now this thing will cost you $10,000 to get in there. So when I look at sports today, you know what? In the heyday, it was something. The ball players, I think, were different, better. This year, it's all about a money grab.
Good point. Let me switch topics here so we can keep and maybe get everything we wanted to talk about. And Carlos is going to ask you a question here that actually plays into one of the things you want to talk about. You want to get into your Pirates, and he wants to know if you think the Pirates will take a stab at Juan Soto. I don't think the Pirates are ready to sign a guy for $440 million, but what are your thoughts?
They'd have to give him the Roberto Clemente Bridge, probably the Strip District in Pittsburgh, probably some pit memorabilia. They're not going after this guy. But, when he's
they're going to have to give Reynolds and Hayes and everybody that's any good on the team already, aren't they?
Well, first of all, why would you break up the team? This was the consensus when we were talking last week about Durant going to the Warriors. Why would you break up the team? Washington's going to want a haul. This guy, is going to be pretty much a free agent. Who needs to see Juan Soto in Pittsburgh for 2 months and get rid of guys like Reynolds and all that stuff? Pittsburgh's going good. Hey, let me tell you something.
Back up, Mark. The thing you got to remember is Juan Soto's under whatever team he goes to's control for 2.5 years. He's got 2.5 years left before he can hit free agency. This isn't a rental. So,
yeah, but in 2.5 years, you're going to open up $500-600 million to keep this guy in Pittsburgh.
Exactly.
They got club control with Reynolds. Brian Hayes is here he's got a huge contract. That pitching's here. The only guy that's going to go out of there in the trading deadline looks like Contreras.
The only guy? Reynolds will stay. Contreras, where's he going to go? I'm not a big fan.
Well, whoever needs pitching down the stretch, the Dodgers could use it, to keep in such. The Dodgers look like they're going to wall up that division, but the real consensus here is they can get bounced in the playoffs. The Padres and Giants are pretty much conceding it. The Phillies are in this thing. It's going to get interesting down the stretch here to find out who will give the Dodgers and Yankees a run for their money come playoff time.
You'd have to give him a Bobby Bonilla deal. Believe me, Alan, he's going to get a whole lot better deal than Bobby Bonilla got. As good as that deal is, and he's still getting paid, he's going to get a lot more than that.
It should be interesting, but you know what? When you look at Soto, is he going to hit the $500 million thing? I don't know. I mean, you can bet on yourself. You know, don't get greedy here. That, like I said in this earlier conversation, they gave you $90 million more. How much are you going to push it before they shut the door on you and you don't get nothing or you get injured?
Well, here's the thing with and Drew brings up a good point about the small market teams not being able to afford him. But if you think about it, with 2.5 years to make a move, a small market team could get involved with trading for Soto now and moving him along somewhere else, and maybe being better off than the pieces that they gave up. It's a long shot, I agree, but I don't think that every small market team will be out of this. I'm not sure.
But Soto's a good player, but you know what? Is he a Barry Bonds? No, I wouldn't put him in a Barry Bonds category.
Who, Soto?
No, I would take Barry Bonds any day of the week over Juan Soto at this age.
Again, I don't. So you're comparing them at the ages that they are right now.
Yeah, I would take Barry Bonds any day. Barry Bonds, to me, was a 5-tool guy. I don't know if this guy's a 5-tool guy all the way around.
So if you're the Yankees, let's throw the Yankees in here. Would you sign? Because I know the Mad New Yorker has strong feelings on this, and I disagree. Do you let Judge walk and sign and bring Soto in to be his replacement in New York?
Well, it's going to be an interesting thing there. Where would Judge go? San Francisco, hometown?
I don't think they're going to pay him, to be honest with you, but that's just me.
How many teams can afford to pay these type of guys?
No, there's
Cubs,
about
the Mets, the Yankees, 5 teams maybe?
Well, the Padres have shown and again, they'd probably be considered small market compared to the other cities we're talking about, but they've shown a proficiency to go out and spend money now too. So I wouldn't put them out of either Judge or Soto's as a possibility.
Cousins was the other one. Cousins was the one that bet on himself and got injured in New Orleans.
Who?
Cousins, remember Cousins in the NBA?
Oh yeah. Good point. He was
turned down the big money and tried to test a free agent, and then he tore his ACL.
It's a chance you take for sure.
I would gamble $440 million on a 15-year deal.
Yeah, Carlos has got your team about 2 years away in Pittsburgh. I wouldn't disagree with that if they stay the course.
They're better than a lot of teams, man. Look at the Angels, how atrocious that team is.
He'll get to 550, but his brother needs to be in play. Soto's not even 21. No, he is. He's over 21 years old.
23.
23, right. That's one of the things he's got. There's a couple comments on his age. One thing he's got over Judge as this whole thing starts to play out is age. You know, he's got 8 years on Aaron Judge. So, but Aaron Judge is going to have a pretty good 8 years coming up, by the way.
Getting to the All-Star game again, I think it was pretty funny with Altuve and Springer backing out of that thing, huh? They didn't want no part of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I do find that interesting.
All of a sudden, they're both playing, and all of a sudden, well, we got this hamstring problem, and we can't get on. Yeah, you didn't want to hear the Boo Birds in Los Angeles.
Anybody snubbed, by the way, that, speaking of the All-Star games, are there any significant snubs that you saw? And a lot of the guys who did get snubbed have been named because so many guys have backed out. I think there's at least 6 guys, if not more.
Well, I think Tellus from Milwaukee's having a good year. Rowdy Tellus, he's pretty much snubbed.
Yeah.
When you look at it, there's some of these guys that, have had. I think Brian Reynolds from the Pirates
got off to a tough start. He got off to a tough start. I think that hurt him a little bit. So, Ty France in Seattle is a guy that I would say has a gripe. Freddie Freeman could have a gripe for that.
Freddie Freeman you can throw in there.
Yeah, but here's the problem. We have these conversations and we have to say, well, if you put them on a team, you got to take somebody off, right? So, or maybe they should just expand the rosters and name more players. So that's half these guys back out for anyway.
Right. How about Kenley Jansen? I think he should have went. Kenley
Jansen could be one. I think he's been out a bit with injury though. So, but again, that doesn't always matter either. There was somebody else I had in mind. It's not coming to my to the top of my mind right now. I've lost the little.
Well, the Scherzer, if he didn't, go on the D, he would have been a sure shot in there.
Yeah, and you know what? You probably could have made an argument for him anyway. To be honest with you. And you may see a couple pitchers replaced today because Cole's not going to pitch. Anybody who pitches today is not going to pitch on Tuesday. So
well, that's the big thing. Who would replace Cole? You got to come up with somebody to replace Cole.
Kid from the Padres just got announced. I'm not sure who that is. Take a quick look here.
Cleveland's got some arms that have been keeping them in this race, so that would be an interesting thing with Cleveland.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? I mean, we talked a little bit about the American League East. Now with the Orioles just off a 10-game winning streak, it did get snapped the other night, but they started a new one yesterday. Every team is over 500 there. I mean, is this the best division in baseball by far?
Well, Dave Roberts thought the National League West was, but he forgot that the Rockies and Diamondbacks are bottom feeders. But yeah, it is the best division by far, and I think the American League by far has better teams than the National League, and that's hard to say because I'm a National League guy. But when you look at the American League, look at the Mariners. They're 13-2 since that brawl with the Angels. The Angels have gone the other way. This is going to be a strong 2.5 months down the stretch to see who gets in here and who doesn't. But man, oh man, the Orioles are putting the pressure on everybody. Look at the draft. They got like 10 first-round picks.
Yeah, and that's coming up here on the 17th. We were talking about the draft earlier, and it's unfortunate because they're trying hard to get the interest in their draft the way the NFL has, the NBA.
I'm going to have to start sporting my Mancini jersey with the Orioles on the front.
You might be able to get drafted. I don't know.
Yeah, I might have to start doing that. I'm on that Oriole wagon. I got a friend that's a good friend that works in their front office. So I'm on the Oriole wagon, man.
Look at it. Being a Yankee fan, obviously, it's hard for me I don't root for any other teams, but it's fun to watch a good story. And this team's been so bad for so long, and they're scrappy. And I mean, their manager's been rumored to be being fired for like 2 years now, and he's still there. So
I'll tell you one thing. It's the other day I was looking at the draft and all the drafts the Pirates have picked up over the years and taking guys like a Jeff King and passed up on a Clayton Kershaw. Unbelievable. Some of these guys, a Matt Wieters, they passed up on Pittsburgh. And oh my gosh, over the years. But this kid they picked up last year, this Henry Davis, he is the ticket man in Pittsburgh.
Oh, good point. That's a guy I was trying to think of, Drew. Thank you very much. I was trying to think of Brandon Drury having a great
Cincinnati Reds.
Also a guy who's probably very likely to get traded here before the trade deadline, in my mind. Came to the Yankees a couple of years ago after a couple of good years in Arizona, and he had some health issues. I can't remember if he had some he had some kind of weird health issue and really stumbled with the Yankees, and it really opened the door for Miguel Andujar actually to become a great player, which now he's turned his career around. But Brandon Drury is one of the great stories in baseball this year, and I'm a little surprised. First of all, that he got snubbed.
How about Matt Carpenter?
What's that?
You got Matt Carpenter is unbelievable.
And let me finish this up real quick. Brandon Drury doesn't get named. Plus, with all these guys backing out, he's still not even one of the replacements. It's not good. Matt Carpenter, we talked about this earlier too. He's been a tremendous, and I would not, when he got signed, I was like, well, whatever.
Oh, I've always liked Matt Carpenter.
No, I love him, but he had a great career, but I thought he was done for sure. He hadn't done anything in years. He only playing in the minor leagues because Texas would put him, near his home. But he's come here, and I talked about this before, in a third less at bats. He's got 75 at bats. Joey Gallo's got 210. He's got 5 less hits, 3 more home runs, and 10 more RBIs. Get Gallo out of here.
Let's face it. If you had a choice to play with the Rangers or the Yankees, I think you'd take the Yankees. I mean, he pulled a John Elway. He said, I'm not going to Indianapolis. I want to go to Denver.
Carpetti gets in, so does Gallo. I'm not putting him on the All-Star team, Alan. Either one of them, I'm not putting on the All-Star team. But actually, before I let you go, Alan's our resident Texas fan. So he thinks now with some of these like Cole not being able to pitch or start, he thinks Martin Perez, who's a great story with Texas, by the way, this year, may get the start. I don't think I'm thinking it might be McClanahan or Torres in the American or Cortez in the American League. Just a thought. Maybe
tell him to settle down in Texas. I'll put Bump Wills or Ruben Sierra in there.
Alan, everybody knows about the damn Gallo trade, man. Every day I got to hear about all these guys, what they're doing in Texas, for crying out loud. He points out Gallo's stats like I don't know him, but because I live it. Every day I live this.
Don't worry. David Clyde is going to replace Garrett Cole.
David Clyde. There's a blast for the past. Mark, what do you got going on? What do you got going on this week before we let you go?
Well, the Pirate Podcast, we're taking a break during the All-Star break, so we'll resume back on Friday from Pittsburgh as the Fish come through there. Also, the Philly show. I got a show coming out of Miami on tomorrow, so that should be interesting. A lot of good things, but nothing tops this show, man. I love this throwdown on Sundays, the Sunday smack off.
Well, it's good having you. I got you on video so you can see all the wonderful compliments you're getting.
Yeah, you guys are great, man. I'm gonna have to start dulling, put on some hats, get the jerseys on, kind of feel like a Magic Johnson out here. You're not gonna see me with a Dodger hat, that's for sure.
I'm a little disappointed that Rick didn't repeat his comment from the Mac and Jack show this morning when I was guesting on that show, and Rick was watching, and Robert Butler from Sportscope came on, and Robert Butler is always in a coat and tie, and he looks like he's the best dressed man in podcasting. And he said from one extreme with Robert to another with Mark Mancini later.
Well, you gotta come out. You slick the hair back, used a lot of mousse and everything. This is it. I'm going to the dump on Tuesday, Dodger Stadium. So I'll try to take that ambiance in.
Drew,
I know they have a lot of fights out there and stuff, so I might have to bring some boxing gloves.
Drew's wondering if you might get traded by the Orioles this week. I mean, they remembered it was Trey. Are you related to Trey Mancini?
I'm not related, but if I had a choice to play for Baltimore or the Dodgers, I'd rather reunite with Trey Mancini. Two Mancinis in Baltimore are better than none in Los Angeles.
Mancini's kind of a common Italian name, isn't it?
It is.
It's like Smith and Jones, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah. But
okay.
Can you imagine two Mancinis on the Orioles?
Oh, Jesus, good grief. One on this show is enough, I can tell you that. So, all right, Mark, listen, you have a great Sunday. And
I'll see you next week on video, brother.
Attaboy, we'll see you next week. Have a great day.
Have a blessed one. Say hi to everybody.
Bye-bye. Mark Mancini from Mancini Media. Boy, the stream of consciousness really gets going when Mark's involved, right? We got only a couple minutes left. What do we got going on in the British Open as we root against all of these live sellouts? Rory's still 17 under, and the closest, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kenny, the closest live guy is Dustin Johnson, 5 strokes back. I'm not sure about these other guys in between. I don't know of any of them that have signed on to the live tournament. And I hope you understand my comments. I don't have a lot of time to explain them. But my problem with live is not these guys getting paid the money they're getting paid, perform to show up and not even play, by the way. It doesn't matter. They just have to show up. Which is kind of like a Major League Baseball player, I guess. We got to wrap it up here. But it's who's giving it to them. I think it's terrible. Mark and Robert, number 1, you missed the 1. I know what you're saying. And number 100 on the best dress. Guys, it's been a great show today. You guys have done a great job. Drew, Rick, Alan, Kenny, Billy, you're probably gone now earlier. Carlos, obviously. Anybody I missed, I'm sorry. You guys do a great job helping the show along with the comments. Everywhere I go, any show I'm on, I talk about the great audience that I have. you guys that are here now commenting, and then later on, you guys who are watching and doing some commenting of your own from time to time as well later on. So we'll see you later on. I'll see you Wednesday on the college football show. And we'll see you this week at 6 a.m. if you're up on Roku exclusively with the Started Up show. We'll see you later. Keith Angle from TGI Sports Talk. Sunday stream of consciousness right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. Have a great day.